Hello, welcome to Vets Coming Clean. I'm Peggy the Enforcer, and today we're reviewing Nigel Impey, and he's located in the UK. How are you doing, Nigel?
I'm great, thank you, Peggy. Pleasure to be here with you.
It's good to be here with you. I don't know where Granny is. Wishing her well, wherever she is. Oh, wait, there she is. She just popped on. Hey, Granny.
Hi,
Hey,
I hope
Granny.
you don't mind me laying down here.
Oh, honey, you know I don't mind.
Anyway, I'm trying to I gotta plug in. I didn't realize my phone's on. Ooh.
Well, Granny, we're live now,
Oh,
and so we just got started.
Hi.
Hey, Granny.
How you doing, Nigel?
I'm great. You?
I'm doing better every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the finger? How's the finger now?
I'm definitely gonna go see the doctor on Monday.
Yeah.
So,
Make
Granny,
sure
do
you
you
do.
want to ask him what we ask all our guests?
Nigel, what have you seen lately?
What have I seen? I've seen lots and lots of UFO/UAP activity.
Really? And has it just been in the UK, or have you traveled and seen different things, or experienced
It's
not
been
just the UAs, but like encounters with
well,
the beings?
basically, yeah. Basically, most of my sightings have been within the UK. Um, I've had I've had encounter. I have contact I can channel. I've been given things like ESP and empathy. Um, Basically, my first sighting, which was back in 2014, um, I'd been watching some of the UFO and ancient alien shows on satellite TV. It was back then.
Yeah.
Before the days of the streaming and everything.
Right.
Anyway, it got to like 11 p.m. at night, and I thought, right, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to make myself a hot drink, go and have a smoke out in my back garden or backyard, as you call it. So into the kitchen, made my drink, opened the door from the kitchen into my small little back garden. Nice little back garden, had some plants there and everything. Anyway, I went out, looked up, and I was like, yeah, it's a beautiful night. It was still, there wasn't any wind or anything like that. It wasn't too cold. So anyway, I've gone and sat on my garden bench, and I'm facing, what sort of direction would it have been? Trying to think now. Anyway, whichever direction I was facing, our houses that we were privately renting off of this woman landlady. Our houses went down a hillside, so all the gardens went downwards towards the
Right.
bottom of the street. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and at the bottom of the street there was like a building, and just literally it must have been only about 100 to 200 foot above the rooftop was this bright white intense light. It looked just like a big ball of white light. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, it can't be a star or a planet or anything like that because it's too low and too bright and it's right over this rooftop. And I'm thinking, well, what the heck is it? So I'm trying to, in my mind, go through what it could be, you know.
Right.
And I thought, well, it can't be a plane either because it was totally dead silent. There was no engine sound. It couldn't have been a drone because there was no, I mean, drones make an electrical sound, nothing,
Right.
no sound whatsoever. And it was totally still. There was not any dogs or cats sounds. There was no traffic. There was nothing. So I'm thinking, and this light wasn't even flashing like an aircraft would have navigation lights. There was nothing. So I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is this? Or um, anyway, I reached down to take a sip of my tea, put my mug back down. I looked back up, and I thought, whoa, hang on, did that just move? I'm like, maybe I'm imagining because I took my attention off of it.
Right.
Anyway, I just sat there looking at this thing, and sure enough, um, the more I looked, the more closer it came towards me, silently, just very slowly moving. It wasn't like it was drifting, it was definitely under like a control. Um, anyway, next thing, it's literally got right over my head. And I've looked up at this thing, I couldn't make out any sort of like shape to it or structure. All I could see was this bright, intense light in my head, in my eyes. And it literally just sat there over my head for must have been maybe 3-4 seconds or more. And then I stood up and I turned around and watched this thing as it went up the backyards, up towards the top of the street. Um, and somebody had a big old tree in their backyard, and it just sort of like went over the tree, and I lost sight of it, and that was it. I was like, my jaw was to the ground, and I was like, WTF, basically. What was that? You
Right.
know, and I'm in sort of like a daze, you know. And I also felt like this. It felt like I had a sort of like static charge running through my body. The hairs on the back of my neck were standing up, and anyway, I just walked indoor like shell shocked. Basically, I walked indoors and I sat down and I was like, I had to pinch myself. I'm thinking, did I just see that or was I imagining it? So after that, I went back outside to see if there was anything else, you know, and there was nothing. So I went back in home, um, and I went to bed. Next day, I decided, you know, I need to get some answers from it, you know, find out what the heck it was, or, you know. So anyway, I got onto Facebook, started joining, I found all the, you know, the UFO groups and all that. And I started joining all these groups. And sorry, my camera keeps going. I have to point it to get it in center. But so I joined all these groups and was chatting with different people and trying to get answers. Um, and you know, see what other people have witnessed and that. But then, you know, this went on for like, you know, I was chatting with people and that for 2 or 3, maybe 4 nights, days and nights afterwards. And the fourth night, I was laying down on my couch at home watching some TV. I can't remember what it was I was watching now, but all of a sudden, I don't even recall like going into sleep or anything. I'm 1 minute I'm watching TV, the next minute I'm in a different place. I'm like in this darkish room with subdued lighting. It looked like bioluminescent lighting coming from the edges of the corners of the room,
Right.
sort of like a greenish glow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I found myself sitting. I don't know what sort of seat I was sitting in, but I was sitting down, and in front of me was like a brushed stainless steel looking like table. I'm sat one side, and then slightly to the left of me, in front of me, was this grey type alien, like with the big eyes, the big skull. Um, but it didn't look totally grey, like it looked like a whitish grey.
Like
Anyway,
off white.
so
Okay.
yeah, off white, yeah.
Okay.
But there was no communication between me and it. It was just sort of like looking to the side of me, like. And I noticed that there was no actual physical doorways in this room, which I thought was weird. It's like, why have a room with no doors, but there's this 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 being in there. And then all of a sudden, from behind the grey, appeared this 8 to 9 foot tall reptilian humanoid looking being. If you know what an iguana lizard looks like, that sort of scale pattern and light and dark scales, it looked like that. And he was standing up with like thick muscular body and thick legs that went down to like very sharp clawed feet. And he had clawed hands, but he was holding something, so he could obviously grip things. And then he walked from behind the grey, and as he walked from behind the grey, I noticed he had like a thick 2 maybe to 4 foot long tail that went from thick to thin at the tip. I can remember all these details like it was like, so vivid. And he stopped right in front of my face, turned around, and looked directly into my eyes, and it felt like we were connected, like in mind.
Telepathically?
Yeah. And I just heard this in my mind: don't be afraid, we're not going to harm you. And what blew me was he turned around and said, you are one of us. And then he raised like as if to gesture like peace or whatever, and walked off and disappeared. And there was no other doorway the other side. And then literally, bearing in mind I was laying down on the couch, I suddenly woke up and I was bolt upright on the couch. And I was like, WTF, that was no dream.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the last time you saw that individual?
Yeah. But then after that, I started having like telepathic communications. I was working as a casual bus and coach driver, motor coach driver back in the day when this happened. And I had to go and do a night job one night, and I had, well, actually I had 2 nights work. So rather than drive back home wasting fuel and then driving back the next night to do another night, I basically took a sleeping bag and I slept in my car basically. And I started off like, because I did this fairly often after this. But this one occasion, I decided I was going to sleep in my car in our bus depot. So I'm trying to get some sleep. It was a bit difficult, so because they had security lighting, so there was a lot of bright light around, and it was difficult to get to sleep. But finally, I managed to get some sleep, and all of a sudden, I heard somebody kept calling my name over and over. It's like, Nigel, Nigel, wake up. And I was like, I came to, and I was like, I couldn't see anyone around. We had a gated compound, which I locked after everybody left for the night. So there was no one around. And this voice, as I say, kept repeating my name. And I just woke up and I was like, who's that? Who's there? And this voice in my mind turned around and said, you know who we are. We have information for you.
Was it the
And
same voice of the individual you met previously? Oh, wow.
Okay.
yeah,
So he kept in contact.
yeah. And ever since then, I've had more information. I've actually had communication with the guy that basically initially I met in this dream state encounter, a guy called Guard, Garrgh. He is actually a guard ship commander that looks over me. Now he's the one that actually I met in my dream state encounter. He confirmed that, and I can channel him. And I also met the chief engineer of this ship called Tar, Tarrgh. He's like the chief engineer, plus he's like a scientist. He does like hydroponics and stuff, growing, because it's they don't just eat. Yeah, they eat meat, but they also eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So yeah, he's always doing new grows of different earth produce. Like he's always looking out for different stuff to try out to grow.
Now,
And
what was the message?
yeah, basically he was telling me like that. Yeah, I am a very my mission on Earth is actually very important. I am actually an ambassador for their people for Earth relations on the Federation of Worlds, and basically my mission is to enlighten, to awaken, to share knowledge, to expose truth of what's going on. Um, you with regards to nefarious stuff, malevolent beings, and also to enlighten people that not all extraterrestrial races and species are malevolent. Yeah,
Kind of like when there's like good humans and bad humans.
Right.
exactly. Yin and yang, good and bad, light and dark.
Right.
And they can all look the same, but just like humans can look the same and have different personalities and be good and bad, it's the same with them, correct?
Correct.
It's just they're based off of their belief systems and what they've seen and what they believe to be true is why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Now, you said something about galactic. Galactic what?
The Galactic Federation of Worlds, which is basically a an organization with many different benevolent beings that all have the same mission, that all want peace. Basically, they're against all the warring, the fighting, the weaponry. Basically, especially like nukes. It's like they've actually already. I don't know if you're aware of. There was an incident where there was a US missile silo that basically a craft was seen over the base, and it knocked out their control of the nuke silo.
I've heard many stories of this happening through the years,
Yeah.
many times.
And it's and also there's been an incident with there's been like I don't know, I haven't seen these guide stones, but apparently in Georgia there's these guide stones that got demolished,
Yes.
and apparently I've got a friend that had encounters with the Zetas, the Greys, and he was telling me that basically they destroyed these guide stones as a message to the powers that be, to stop using CERN. The Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland,
Yes.
because basically they haven't got a clue of what they're messing with when they operate this CERN and they keep increasing power levels and power levels. They're running, basically this thing is running on enough power to power consumption for a whole, city, basically, or more than a city. It's running that much electricity through it.
What is it called?
The Large Hadron Collider, or LHC.
Mike can tell us a little bit more about it. He almost went to work there, didn't you, Huddy?
No, I was going to work at the one in Texas.
Oh.
That
Oh,
collider is a
they
lot
have one
bigger.
in Texas as well.
Well, no, there was a project back in the 80s, back when I was in college. They were building a circle down in Texas. There's this 3-mile ditch they've got in Texas now, and that's all it is. But and they lost funding, and then it went over to CERN. So,
Well, actually, it's funny you should say about this, because over in Oxfordshire in the UK, there's like a science and research park called Harwell Laboratories. It's a big like research and science park. Anyway, on Google Maps, I found the because I've actually been past that, because it apparently used to be, back in the day, it used to be like a research place for rocket propulsion systems.
Oh, okay.
They used to test rocket motors there. Because I once had to go there to deliver some stuff back in, I think it was back in the 80s or something. And they had all these warning flags and warning lights that it said, oh, if red warning flag or red warning light is lit, do not proceed past this point. And yeah, I found out that was to do with like rocket propulsion motors that they used during the war and whatever.
yep.
But then it became a science and research park. But anyway, on Google Maps, I'll have to send you the link, because they've got this like big looking, it looks like a hollow donut, like a ring donut, and with something, if you look down on it, there's stuff going on in the center of it, and it's a massive, great big like ring donut looking structure. So I'm thinking to myself,
Maybe a small scale version of that, or it could be a wind tunnel.
But
they also
it
have
did
wind
say
tunnel stuff that way.
it did say something about because if you click on it, it said something about light systems, or something about the speed of light, or I don't know. Yeah. So I'm
Yep.
thinking, yeah, it possibly is a small scale version of a
Yep.
collider.
Yeah, they're called cyclotrons, and they can be as small enough to put in your kitchen.
Yeah.
You
Actually,
played that Grady?
microwave tubes are cyclotrons.
Yeah. And the device in a microwave is actually a magnetron.
Yep.
Okay, so when they were warning about this, I still haven't kind of figured out what you guys are calling it, but it's an electrical device.
What it does is
Yeah.
it spins particles up to the point where they're going as fast or very close to the speed of light, and then they make them hit each other. And then they find out what particles and what weird effects are coming off of it, and they use a lot of computer models. Well, they don't exactly know everything, because they keep digging and they keep increasing power, and that's what the concern was, I believe.
Yeah, because they're trying to find what they call they nicknamed it the God particle.
Yep.
I thought they had done that
They did
last
that,
year.
and they moved on to doing black holes, is the last I read.
Yeah, and the concern is, Granny, that what they don't know the full extent of what they're doing. I mean, they are only humans like we, that most other people are, and what they don't realize is that they are risking opening a rift in time and space, and basically with catastrophic consequences.
Ah, okay.
That'll
I
echo
didn't know
across
such a
our world
thing
with multiple.
existed.
Yes.
it's like on our British TV series, Doctor Who, where
Yeah.
if you start messing around with the time continuum,
Right.
and like on Back to the Future, if you
Right.
meet yourself back in time, and you interact with that version of yourself, you can basically wipe your family away. You can wipe everything away,
Right. Right.
or
I
you
get
can
that.
change the outcomes. Like where Biff got that sports almanac and he put bets on, and he ended up becoming this mega rich, controlling of everything.
Uh-huh. That doesn't sound like a good thing to have.
No, so
Uh,
that is what they are trying to stop. Is like, if whoever creates this, you know, thing that can control all time and space, it's like, yeah,
Okay. So that's what they said to you in the communication. It's that you need to let that there's a warning. They need to let you know the
yeah,
possibilities. Okay.
mm,
All right. So when you say, and I'm not judging here. I'm just trying to understand because I am completely a novice to any of this, unlike my co anchor here. And so I ask a lot of questions, and I do not mean to
no,
be
I understand.
insulting, okay?
I totally understand. It's a lot for people to grasp. That don't understand these things. You
Right,
know, I mean, people, like in Facebook community. When I've told them about myself and who and what I am, um, I've had ridicule. I've had them calling me crazy. I've had them saying, "Oh, you need psychiatric help."
right,
I've, and they also don't realise that there are good beings out there. They stereotype and think all beings are bad. You
right.
I've had I've even had somebody turning around and basically saying like death threats towards my mother, and
Oh my gosh. That's not good.
wishing things against me. Um, yeah.
Oh, well, I just don't want you to think that I am attacking you in any way
Oh
or
no, no,
judging you
I know
because I
you're
like
not.
to learn. I like to learn, and whether I agree or not isn't the issue. It's just being informed, and because you don't know. You don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so the more I can be informed, the better off I feel like I am. And so I just didn't want you to feel like that, okay? That's my
No, no,
concern because we're
I
not
don't
here
feel.
to judge.
No.
No, I don't feel that at all. I mean,
Okay.
I know you're a sweetheart, Granny. I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Like I love Peggy, I love Michael, I love all my friends. I don't judge anybody or anyone. I mean, the only thing that gets me is people that can't be nice to each other,
Mm-hmm.
that that judge, that
Right.
you know, basically that's one of the teachings that I've been taught, is that humanity needs to, um, how can I politely say it? um, suck it up, and not hold grudges. You know, unite with each other, not fight. Um,
Right. That seems
commun,
to be
commun,
what a lot of people are having that message coming to them is that.
and to communicate with each other, to be friendly. To help out each other when they can, and if they can. You know, Um, I mean, I've got this lovely friend, a guy called Brian Singh, who's on Facebook. He's his alter is called Solar Bee. He's actually to do with the Disclosure Now movement, and he's actually in the process of setting up like a camp for people that want to get away from bad things. Like he's got a guy that's moved there and his girlfriend who were involved in the Montauk project, and they were getting a lot of negative attacks for where they were staying. And Brian opened up his home to them to get them away from all this negativity that they were suffering.
Wow.
So they were targeted individuals. Remember, we talked about them
Exactly.
on our
Yeah.
past shows, Granny, with Joy and
Yeah.
Amy. Speaking of,
Yeah.
Amy was telling us that there's an actual court case going on in Connecticut. So anybody interested in that, go to Amy's audios on our Facebook page and our website and get involved in that. So you can pass it along to your friends, Nigel, that
Yeah,
Brian
will do.
knows.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian and his wife Liz, and he's got his co-workers, and they are really good people. And Brian has actually helped me and my partner Helmut out a heck of a lot. He's even given me, not lent me. I asked to borrow a little bit of money off of him because the powers that be had screwed up on on our benefit payments and stuff, and me and my partner had to go a month without any money whatsoever. We couldn't get any help, assistance until this had been sorted, and it took them a whole month dragging their heels to get this done. So in the meantime, Brian offered to help me and Helmut out, and bless him, he didn't even want the money back.
That's,
You know,
yeah, that's, that's going
uh,
above and beyond. That's,
it is, yeah.
and
And
that's
he
what it's all
basically
about.
turned around to me and said, we are all in this stuff together. We've got to support each other. We've got to help each other with whatever we can do, and we've got to fight against the dark side.
Yeah.
It's coming together is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
We're better
Exactly.
together.
Also, I was told that basically, back in the day, when I was growing up as a kid on Earth, that people used to provide for themselves. They were pretty much self-sufficient. My grandmother, bless her soul, up there somewhere, she always grew her own fruits, vegetables. She grew up during World War II, so and she got married during World War II and had my mum. My actually, my mum told me that one day her mum, my nan, my grandma or granny, basically had to throw herself on my mum because one of the German doodle bugs, the V2 rockets, actually came right over her head, and the rocket motor actually cut out, which means basically, yeah, it's coming down and it's going to explode.
Oh, wow.
How far was it before it exploded?
I don't know about that. All I know is that my mum told me that her mum threw her, on the ground, like, and covered her over, like, on the grass,
Yeah.
like, because they lived in like a house which was out in the countryside,
Yeah.
and this thing went over. I don't know how far it went before it dropped, but yeah,
It's scary.
It is very
yeah,
scary.
It had to be
yeah,
close enough that she had to felt like she had to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, these things they were propelled by a rocket motor, and
Uh-huh.
that they had so much rocket fuel to get over to the UK from Germany or occupied France, wherever they were, and these things would fly over and cause, like in London, a lot of the bombs that went off in London, like that destroyed buildings and infrastructure, like the railways they targeted and stuff like that. Yeah, they were all these V2 rockets which would suddenly run out of fuel, the rocket motor would cut out, and then they'd scream down. They
Right.
actually made like a really loud screaming
Green.
noise,
Yeah.
and then they would just hit whatever target they were. It wasn't totally like aimed at specific. Some of them were aimed at specific infrastructure, like the railways, but they weren't exactly, you know,
That's what made them so
pinpoint.
dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't
Yeah.
pinpoint accurate, but they they did do a lot of damage to the British infrastructure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they
Because
called them
back
the
back in
screaming bees.
back in the day, a lot of infrastructure, like you didn't have like um, a lot of cargo planes and stuff like that back in the day. Most of the freight was either done by railway, or it was done by waterways. That they were the main links into like cities of like London and Birmingham, Manchester, Scotland, and that sort of thing. You know, and yeah, they were trying to do as much infrastructure damage as they could, like even sort of like power stations and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they were very dangerous because they were very unpredictable.
Mm.
Because
But
even with the screaming, yeah.
looking at history, it's almost as if they never went away, as if the book burnings are still continuing with the book bans today, and the chemicals being put in the water, stuff that from my research shows that it was German scientists that came up with some of the fluorides and stuff that's in the water today, and
Well,
it's like
a lot of
really fun.
a lot of the top German scientists actually got poached by the US
Yeah.
military. They because they had skills with specialist skills like in engineering, science, aviation. They create planes that were way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Right. So Mike has a question. He was wanting to know, what about paranormal stuff, Michael?
Well, I was going to ask him, most people I've ever met that have had any kind of contact experience have also seen ghosts and all kinds of other things. I didn't know if he'd seen anything like that in his lifetime.
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah. Basically, I was as a kid. There wasn't a real lot to do. I'm originally from a small little country town 30 miles north of London, on the main West Coast main rail line, which run from London Euston Station terminus into through Hertfordshire, and then it went through like Northamptonshire, Birmingham, and then went all the way up to basically Scotland. Via Manchester and stuff like that. Now, as a kid, me and a group of my friends from school, after we left school, we got to, even when we were still at school, group of us used to hang about the railway station, doing a hobby that, a lot of people think, oh, that's a boring, sad hobby of train spotting. Basically, you used to get a book of like the fleet numbers or tops numbers, as they called them, which was train operating whatever system. It was basically on each locomotive you would have, or even like passenger trains, you would have an identification number on the locomotive and on the carriages, so you knew what locomotive manufacturer was who, and so on and forth. Anyway, you used to see these locomotives or trains, and you'd tick off the numbers that you've seen, and that was the hobby. It was good because you were getting out in the fresh air, and it was like you were with your buddies and it was like something to do, rather than, causing chaos and whatever like kids of today do, going around mugging old dears, old grannies, and um, which is and kids today, even it's like you don't see kids out playing. They're in their homes, in their
Mm.
bedrooms, playing on their zombie games, on their shoot 'em up games, on their flying drone games. Basically being trained to be sort of like cyber soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically, I was down at the railway station with my friends, and the guy, we got to know the guy that worked on the railway. He was in charge of the whole station, little country station, and there was two of them that worked there. One would work a day shift, and one would work the night shift, and then they'd swap over after a week, and so this went on like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one, he was working like the night shift, which would start sort of like late afternoon and go through till like the last train used to come in from London Euston just after midnight, before they introduced all night running of the train network.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're down on one platform in his office. He had a little office where he used to even take his little dog with him and stuff. And his dog had its own little chair and sitting there, and we used to just chill and have laughs and jokes and tell stories to each other and everything like that. So it was a nice evening. Basically having fun. So anyway, we sat down there, and it got to like the last train of the night coming in from London, so we had to come up the stairs onto the footbridge that went across the tracks and to the next platform, which he stood at the top of the stairs there, and people had come up the stairs from the train, handing
Yeah.
their tickets, and off they went. Anyway, um, everybody got off this train, came up and left the station, and we're just chatting, and we noticed this one guy that was still down on the bottom of the platform, the stairs. And this guy, bearing in mind this was like after midnight, this guy looked as though he'd just come from, like an office job, like as a banker or,
Mm.
an accountant or whatever. He was dressed in a proper like suit or tuxedo, as you call it. He was carrying a suitcase, a briefcase or attaché case, as they call it. Yeah, he literally looked as though he'd just come from his day job in the office.
Huh.
He was wearing like the black office worker's hat, like like a posh hat. And we were calling to him like, "Oh, you need to come up here, and because there's no more trains after this." And he didn't even take any notice, and he basically proceeded to carry on walking along the platform towards the end where the tracks are. And my friend who worked on the railway, basically got a bit concerned at this stage. He was like, he's walking towards the live tracks. Um, the tracks weren't actually electrified. The overhead supply was at 25 kV voltage. So if he'd have like got too near to the overhead structures or whatever, he could have got fried,
Right.
basically. So my buddy that worked on the railway, rushing down the footbridge to his platform office, he got on the phone, which was back in the day, you didn't have like cell phones or anything like that. It was very,
Mm.
you know, basically he had to get on a dial-up phone to his line controller. So, and he told him what's happening, and he requested that they stopped a freight train in the station so he could go down the track to, find out what's going on.
Right.
Bearing in mind these track sides, it ran through a hillside which they'd not blasted through, because back in the day they actually cut this hillside in half by horses and men. You know, many people were killed building the railways back in the day.
Huh.
Right.
You know, they even making the tunnels for trains back in the day, a lot of fatalities, and that went on the railway system. Not just in where I'm, you know, I'm talking nationwide. You know, a lot of
Right.
railway workers lost their lives. Anyway, but so there was no way out of this part of the track until another road bridge which went over across the railway, and there was a lock gate which went down some big steps to the hillside to where the track level was. So he said to, because one of my friends at the time had a car with him, so he said, "You all get in the car, you go to the next rail bridge, and see if you see anything." So we went racing
Yeah.
off to this next bridge, stood by this gated entrance. You could see clearly down onto the trackside, and we saw the lights from this freight locomotive coming down the track, and could see my friend hanging out of the cab of this locomotive with a big bright railwayman's torch,
Oh, yeah.
shining it around.
Right.
Anyway, he got to where we were, and he got off the freight locomotive cab, came across the tracks. You know, obviously he's permitted to do it. He had to wear high visibility clothing, and you so you know, anyone out there that's thinking of trespassing across a railway line, don't do it. Not only for the fact of your own life, thinking about, you know, you get struck by a locomotive, it can affect the driver and everything. Anyway, so he comes up to where we're this railroad bridge, and he asked us, "Did you see anything?" And we were like, "No." And then we asked him, "Did you?" And he was like, "I saw nothing."
Uh-huh.
And we all just stood there, open mouthed, like we were like freaked out, and we just went, "That was a ghost."
So you don't think it was intelligent? Do you think it was possibly just like a time loop, like that person had committed suicide there and was stuck in the last?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, back in the day before they brought in these trains with the modern, like, electrically or air operated doors where they were automatically open and close, these trains actually had separate carriages. The passenger trains, um, and you physically had to slide a window down and then reach out and turn a metal handle to unlock and open the carriage doors. They had, like, each compartment had its own separate door.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
So you had literally, like, each set of seats. You know, you'd have two sets of seats facing each other, and then you'd have the entrance door. As I say, you had to physically unclip a window, slide it down into its channel, reach out, open the door,
Yeah.
and it had no safety interlocks or anything like that. It was just basically grab the handle, twist it, and the door would swing open. You know, and what we thought was maybe, like, back in the day, maybe the train was coming into the station and he opened the door too early and maybe fell out on the tracks, or even worse, underneath the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Have you?
Yeah. It sounds like an endless loop he had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a spirit that's stuck in a you know, that can't be freed.
Yeah.
Have you gone back to see if you can see it happening again, to see if maybe you can confirm that it's the same loop that this person's going
Well,
through?
after that, we did sort of like keep an eye out, you know, because we used to keep going down there after that. Um,
Right.
and you know, at the same time, each time this last well, it wasn't the last train then. And, you know, they brought in extra trains that run after that. But at that time, when this specific train was due to come in,
Right.
we'd keep an eye out and see if we could see anything. But
Too bad. Did you ever get a picture of them?
no, you know, I mean, back in the days, you didn't have, you know, we didn't go prepared anyway. You know, it was like we were just going there as a sort of like social thing. So
Right.
you didn't carry cameras around with you back then, and you didn't
No,
have cell phones. And
I was just curious if you know, some kids they liked, you know, carrying cameras with them, and so I
I
wasn't
mean,
sure.
I used to carry. I did used to. I was into photography as a kid, and sorry, and yeah,
Is that your partner?
yeah. My partner's just
Does your partner want to tell us their story? I know that I heard an incredible paranormal encounter from them as well. Or would you like to share it?
Well, I'll share it. Yeah. Basically, my partner is actually from a country called Namibia, Southwest Africa, a place called Windhoek, which means the windy corner, apparently. Now, he was when he was younger. He and his some friends. They basically were near the railway, and there was an old building that used to be apparently he thinks used to be like a theater or like a music house or something, and this building had been derelict for many years. They found this building, and it was all the windows were all there was no glass in the windows, it was just boarded up with wood,
Right.
planks of wood. And he happened to hear like music coming from this building, which he thought was strange. And they went and looked through the gaps in these boardings, and he said he saw literally like a ghostly, not just one ghost, it was like a whole musician, like a band playing like
Right.
this old swing style, like 1940s 50s style, sort of like swing music, you know.
Big band music, yes.
Yeah, big band music, yeah. And they were all, he could see even they were playing instruments and everything. And it looked like they were a white, it was like a white looking sort of, you know, appearance, sort of like a grey white, sort of like spooky looking band.
Like a
And
misty kind of
yeah, like a misty sort
foggy
of looking,
appearance,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And he went to take a picture, and nothing actually came out on the picture. And as he took the picture, everything just stopped and they disappeared.
As if they were aware of him and they were. Gotcha. So that was
Yeah.
so he had an intelligent haunting that he witnessed.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what's non-intelligent haunting then? I mean, to haunt, I would think would have to take some kind of intelligence. So I'm confused by that.
So, like the first example he gave of the man at the railroad track, where it's
Yes.
like a repeating thing, that's a non-intelligent, where it's just almost like time's looping and you're watching a replay. Whereas the
Oh,
others were
okay.
interactive and actually reacted to the person watching them.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you. Now it
I
makes
mean,
sense. Thank
it's
you.
like, you know, with intelligent ones, it can be like you actually witness like I mean, we've had accounts in the UK that I haven't witnessed, but there have been accounts where you've had like horsemen with you know, headless horsemen riding a horse out in the countryside. You know,
Yeah.
you you know, people have actually witnessed things like that, or they've witnessed you know, I don't know, planes that have actually sort of like come down, like,
Don't they have
you know,
over in northern England like the Phantom Dog thing going on too?
the dogmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a guy that's got a YouTube channel. His name's Andy Decodes, or now he calls himself just Andy Codes. He does a lot of stuff into researching the dogmen, the what's the other ones? The I can't remember the name of the other ones that there's many different other ones as well. Like, you know, the Bigfoot type things, the Squatches, yeah.
Crypto.
Okay, so
I've never heard
he
of the
does a lot of crypto
dogman.
stuff.
Now, are the
Yeah,
dogs
there's
like
crypto
werewolves?
stuff, yeah, werewolves, yeah.
Oh, is that okay? I know what
Vampires.
werewolves are. Yeah.
I mean, I used to know a friend of mine from when I was younger. Him and his wife, they sold up their house around the corner from where I was living, and they relocated to. They brought a guest house, like a bed and breakfast house
Yeah.
that they set up in a place called Whitby, which is a coastal town in Yorkshire. You know, it's near, not far away from RAF Farlingdales, which was the place where they had the big nuclear protests back in the day. Anyway, they invited me and at the time my partner to come and visit them in their guest house. So we went up there, and this particular weekend was where they get all what they call the goths. You know, because it was like known for vampire sort of like activity in Whitby and that. So all the goths went there and with their vampire stuff, and you know, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, we've got a lot of places that have like you've got Stonehenge in the south of England. Um, you know, there's we have where I'm originally from. There's a place called Nell Gwyn's Monument, where as a kid we were told that if you ran round it so many times that Nell Gwyn would pop out and give you an orange.
Uh,
Yeah, never
That,
worked because we never got any oranges.
that's interesting. It's almost like the stupas where you go around it 108 times and do the marks and
well, I imagine the reason they were doing that is to wear the kids out so they go take a nap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was smart.
But
Oh,
they did have actually some areas where they had like a chain of like beacons that was lit to convey messages throughout the country. Like there's one near to where I used to live. It was called Ivanhoe Beacon. It was like on a big hillside, so it can be seen from miles around. And then they'd set a fire, like the First Nations where they have the smoke signals.
right.
This was basically using fire to portray a message.
okay.
But you know, there was a lot of there is a lot of basically sort of paranormal and you know, Britain has a lot of rich history, so you know it's got a
Yeah,
lot of paranormal activity. You know, and
right.
you've got like these ley lines, energy lines.
Yeah.
So you know there are things that happen along these energy lines that you know can trigger a lot
Right.
of paranormal stuff.
That makes sense.
You know,
So
Um,
I
I've
see you've got a
often,
Facebook group that you've started, exposing the UFO UAP reality, I believe is what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
Yeah, and are those
awesome.
all those photos you're posting on there stuff you captured?
Pretty much a lot of it is. I do have other friends on there that have witnessed um, even to the point of some of the friends that I've forgotten there have witnessed stuff that basically is almost identical to what I've witnessed.
Wow.
Yeah. I just wanted to, I was checking out here. We are coming up on the hour. Nigel, how are you doing? Did you want to go ahead and stop and come back to another episode and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
I'm
continue?
fine with that. Yeah, I'd love to come back again. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure that Peggy, she's the organizer. She can get it set up for because the time difference
Right.
that
Yep.
we can definitely have part two. That
Yeah.
would
I
be
mean,
awesome.
if we can do it sort of like the same, maybe the same sort of time frame.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, that works well. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Peggy, did you want any last thoughts?
Well, if you liked what you saw, remember to like and subscribe. Always remember sharing is caring. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, please go to vetscomingclean.com and go to contact us and fill out the information. We have a form on there where you can submit to be a guest on Granny's show, Vets Chatting with Granny Lisa, or Granny's other show, Leftovers, or Vets Coming Clean, where you can find Granny and I both interviewing anyone and everyone on what they have seen. So, if
Exactly.
you have anything else you'd like to share, Nigel, before we go?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that it was a pleasure being on with you, and I'm so blessed that I've become friends with you all. Yourself, Peggy, your good husband, Michael, Granny Lisa, we love you,
Love you too, hun.
Love you.
and Heggerty.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Nigel, for joining us. It has been a pleasure. We are very grateful to have you today, brother.
Yes.
Everyone, have a marvelous weekend. And remember,
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's caring. Take care.
Bye. Mwah.
Bye.